Convos podcast. I am your host, Dricka M. Carter, mom, wife, serial CEO. And of course, today I have a special guest co host, Miss Aitza Negron. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi everyone, how are you? First of all, thank you for having me on your platform. My name is Aitza Negron. I'm a CPA specializing in financial statements and reporting, and my mission is to really help people increase their cash flow, slash their debt, and then eventually use a business to gain time freedom.
Love it, awesome. You talking my language when we talk about money. And then, of course, the podcast is called Comma Convos. So we're here to talk about money, help people with their finances, help them with strategies on building their finances and growing wealth. A lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, so they come here and it's like little mini master classes is how they explain it to us in our like private groups and private sessions. They typically say, "Oh, I've learned so much. I've connected with the guest co-host. I got an offer from the guest co-host, etc." So bringing somebody else on with a different perspective is always refreshing to me. So my first question for you is, what are the most important money systems that every entrepreneur should have in place while balancing a 9 to 5?
Yeah, so I think it's going to sound kind of odd, but one of the money systems is also your time management system, right? So if you're working your 9 to 5, you need to be able to understand what windows of time do you have available to meet with clients, to have sales calls, all these things, which are obviously going to impact your money flow, how you're creating content, right? Because you're working around the schedule of your 9 to 5,
Right.
which might mean more late nights, might mean dedicating some time on the weekend. And then having
Or
to,
early mornings.
or early mornings, yes, I do like to do my early mornings when it comes to my business. Um, so I would say start there, right? Start really understanding what availability do you have in terms of time so that you can focus on these different things that are going to bring money into your business. And then secondly, I would recommend I always talk about profit first. So I definitely recommend for people to implement the profit first method, which is basically a cash flow money management method, right? So your bookkeeping, we need that for sure. That's one thing. But the cash flow system is a way that you're organizing your bank accounts by having different bank accounts for different causes and reasons for your business, so that it's easy for you to kind of log on, quickly see how much money, for example, you have in the account dedicated to your business expenses, and then you can make decisions there in your business. And when you pair that in with a bookkeeping system, whether maybe you're very early on and you're still on the Excel time frame, you don't have a lot of clients or income coming in, or you've already moved up to QuickBooks. I personally love QuickBooks because it links right into your bank account, which
Hmm.
makes it super easy and streamlined. So I would say those are the three key systems you need for your money in your business: time management, some type of cash flow money system that's more strategic in terms of your banking strategy, and then a bookkeeping system as well.
First of all, so much to unpack there. But like just to piggyback, I just talked on a call with one of my mentees last week, and I told her the same thing. Like she's not at the stage of having a QuickBooks because she doesn't have any cash flow, and we kind of went over that. But I told her trash the pen and paper, right? Because paper fades, ink runs out, it could get wet, it could get lost, all of those things. But also switch to Excel. I said, and it's easy as you can put sheets on your phone. So you can instead, even if you're a pen and paper person, if you gotta write it down and transfer it, that's on you. I don't mind you doing that, but take an admin day at least and put those numbers into a spreadsheet. It works wonders. Like for my people that are not like at a high profit margin yet, I tell them to go on Google Sheets or use the sheets on your phone. That's a great thing. Or use like the Mint app as well. And that also integrates with QuickBooks. I'm a QuickBooks girly, but lately I've been into Zero a little bit. So I have a few clients on Zero, I have a few clients on QuickBooks. But bookkeeping is a number one thing to figure out if you have cash flow, if you have cash flow issues. And of course, you said time management, which is gonna lead right into my next question, right? But a lot of people don't realize time management, and we talked about this on my last group mentorship call Thursday Friday night actually, right? And we talked about how sometimes it looks like getting up 2 hours earlier. I'm a 3 a.m. girl, right? And even y'all, when we were at the FinCon, and y'all was like 3 a.m. You get up at 3, like for what? What are you doing at 3 a.m.? But I'm just used to it. I started doing it like I was doing a 75 hard with my mentees, and I started getting up, and then my body just got used to it. So I'm like hardly a late sleeper in, but if sleeping late probably means like 6, right? To me, because I'm a 3 a.m. But I tell them like between 3 and 5, you could get so much done. You could cook, you can work out, you can work on your business before you go to your 9 to 5 if you are a hybrid entrepreneur, right? And that makes all of the difference because once you never know how your day is going to go at a 9 to 5, right? So let's say you get off work and you have kids and you have a spouse and you're trying to figure out something healthy, right, to eat and cook or whatever the case may be. You get home, you don't want to throw in that 20% that you have left on your business because you're not going to be productive. So that goes into time management. And it also goes into you not being profitable in your business because you're not giving it your all.
Mhm. No, I agree. I'm also an early morning bird as well. And so, and it's true. And not even that, like, if you're watching this and you're saying, well, I don't have kids, none of that would apply to me. Sometimes your workday just could be mentally draining and
Yes.
you just need to unplug and you just want to go for a walk or do something after work. I really find that the early morning also lets you get ahead, especially if you leverage technology. Like even Gmail, you can now delay send your emails on Gmail.
Yes, I love it.
Right. So you can start preparing those client emails, drafting them up, schedule them to go out at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., whatever your time, that time
Mhm.
works for your clients. But there's a lot of work that you can get done without the distractions of people reaching out to you, people trying to contact you. And also, if you've already gotten to the point where you're building a team, you can start delegating those tasks that are for your team before they even log on so they're ready to kickstart their day too.
Yes, exactly. And that's the main thing, like delegating to your team, not just dumping a bunch of things on them. Because a lot of times, like, I have a VA agency, and so they bring on new employees and they're so overwhelmed that they've never streamlined or written down, like, or documented what their process is. So when you bring someone in, it's difficult to onboard them versus bringing them on and saying, hey, we're a team. I'm here to help you get acclimated to the culture and the community of my company. But however, I need you to bring to the table your skills. What is your skill set that you told me on this interview, on this resume, or whatever the case may be that got you into the position? Don't come in like the blind leading the blind. Don't come in like this is your first time seeing this, hearing this, getting into this industry. I need you to be ready to be onboarded and I need you to take action and get things done when you come in. And a lot of times entrepreneurs don't know and they kind of dump everything on a virtual assistant and not even understand like that time management. They're not going to be able to manage time because you dump so much on them. That profitability, they're going to be mentally exhausted coming into the job because one, they're like, okay, I don't know where to start. I don't know what's priority. I don't know what she wants first. I don't know how she likes it, how she likes her emails. And that avoids the back and forth confrontation, right? It avoids all of the back and forth emails and text messages and the long night Zooms. And you kind of got to get it down to a science. Hiring your first employee is always going to be a challenge, right? But once you bring someone on and y'all spirits match, y'all work ethics match, y'all systems match, you allow them to come in and tell you, hey, this works, this doesn't work, we can change this to this. What about this system? Like let them bring ideas in as well, because guess what, as a CEO, we only know what we know and we only know how to operate as a solopreneur if we're
Yeah.
going into bringing somebody on the team. So that's important as well. But back to time management, right? How can someone effectively manage their time to build a business while working a full-time job? And we talk about the getting up early, we talk about the getting up, coming from work and just being mentally exhausted. We talk about not doing things that are fulfilling to us,
Mhm.
versus just going to work and building a business, right? Just go and take a walk, going to the park and swing. When's the last time you went to go swing, right? Like you just
Right.
feel like I'm too old to be swinging. I'm too, you just feel like I shouldn't be coloring. Yes, you can. Adults can color, adults can journal, adults can, like, all of these things that brought you joy as a child, get back to doing that. Like that's a part of time management. I'm
Yeah.
not taking calls. I'm not taking my phone while I'm going jogging because I don't want to have to stop and read a message and it's gonna mess up my, like things like that. Or it's on do not disturb while I'm listening to my music. I'm vibing out. That's my hour that I'm either listening to a podcast or music or my pastor talking or things like, or even an audiobook, things like that. Because I'm now into audiobooks, lol.
I was very resistant on audiobooks. I'm like, that is cheating. You're not even reading.
You cheating, yes,
Now,
you're not gonna get it. I was so opposed.
right.
Yes, I was so opposed to
Me
audiobooks.
too. Me too. So now I'm like, I can listen to a book and learn while I'm driving to work.
Yes.
Working out. But no, these are really great things, and I think for those of you who don't know me yet, right? Hopefully, you'll know me after this session, and as you continue to follow my journey, I started as a financial literacy coach, right? So when I first
Mhm.
started my business, it was really focused on just coaching. Now I do the bookkeeping work and really consulting for business owners as well. But I started without a team. I'm pretty sure you did. You when you started, it was
I
the same,
did.
right?
Just
So
me at home.
Right. It's just like making the time work for you. So I think one thing that I found a little bit later that was helpful is actually sitting down doing a time audit. So I sat and actually started to see, how am I spending my time? How many hours am I scrolling on Instagram? What are all these things I'm spending time
Yep.
on? And then that helped me with two things. That helped me identify, all right, these are some areas where I might need to put a pause on these, extracurricular activities so I can focus on my business. But later down the road, it allowed me to identify tasks that were for my assistant and my EA to support me in, and kind of say, what do I need to keep, like, as the CEO of my business, and what can I start to pass on.
Hmm.
And so doing that time audit was very helpful. Also, I leveraged Google Calendar to do time blocking. So I would
I
physically
love
with
time
different
blocking.
colors. Yeah, I would like
Mhm.
physically say, okay, these are the hours that I'm working. These are the hours I need to work out. So for example, me, I need to work out in the morning. If I don't work out in the morning, now I'm better. Like, I'll still go, and because I built that habit and that behavior.
Hmm.
I just doesn't. It's not really my thing to work out so late in the evening. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna prioritize that morning workout, which might mean I
Hmm.
sleep a little earlier the night before, so I can make it happen. And when I've worked with clients, both on the coaching side and on the business side, it's prioritize what brings you joy. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that, is if you start to sacrifice or give up everything that brings you joy, you're gonna really start to resent either the business that you're building, the goals that you're trying to pursue, because
Hmm.
you're associating them with something so, negative. But instead, if you look at it like, I'm going to make this realignment, but I'm going to make sure I'm prioritizing joy. So if you want to go swing it, you like to swing, you like to color, like, put 30 minutes, an hour in your schedule, and make sure that you dedicate your time to that.
Yes.
So that's what's going to allow you to keep going through sustainably. So I remember, when I was doing my coaching, I was trying to find that balance between the work and the business. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to, instead of meeting with clients in the evenings because I was getting drained from work, I'm going to just book all my clients on Saturdays, right? So I decided to save all my Saturdays to do, client calls, client one on one coaching calls.
Hmm.
But that burned me out really bad.
On a Saturday, ooh.
Because I was like, not then,
Yeesh.
yeah, because on Sundays I was working on prepping for the week. So I ended up getting very burnt out, and it started,
Yes, because now you're at that point you were still working a 9 to 5, right?
yeah,
So
still
you're
working.
working 7 days a week. Yeah, you're gonna be burnt out.
Exactly. So I had decided what works better for me. Well, I need to move into more of a group model for the coaching piece to kind of free up some of my time. I
Hmm.
started picking, like, this day of the week are coaching calls. If a client doesn't fit within that time frame, then, yeah, I mean, these are the times I'm available, right? I'm
Yes.
so flexible, and I had to be very. I like to give a lot of information, and I love to share. So I actually bought. I'm gonna show this little, paranormal clock to time
Mhm.
myself. Like, if it's an hour call, it's an hour call. It's not a 2 or 3 hour call.
Right. We're not getting into all the extras. Right. I
Right.
love
I
it.
feel like naturally, if we feel called to serve, like, we just get so into our zone of excellence, coaching, teaching, doing the books, whatever it is that we're called to do, that we lose
Hmm.
track of time because we're in our zone of excellence. So I
Yes.
bought that and I have it next to me. So I'm like, all right, this is the time I've dedicated to this task, whether it's check an email, to this client call, to really kind of start holding myself accountable. And then eventually, when I was able to hire my first EA, or executive assistant, that allowed me to free up a lot of time, because some of the busy work I was able to delegate that out and focus
Hmm.
only on, creating the content, creating the reels, having the calls with clients. So that kind of freed up a lot of my mental space there.
It does. Like I have maybe 5 right now, but of course I have multiple businesses. So like what I did, this is something totally different and unorthodox because I'm just wired that way. Typically, what I would do is like bring people on and let them fill a certain position. But what I did this time around differently is I bring them on and I let them free work. Right, I pretty much oversaw them and saw what their strengths were.
Hmm.
So if your strengths are client communications, whether that be email marketing, that may be SMS marketing, that may be lead generation, that may be client calls. If that's your strength, I'm putting you on that task. I'm not going to get the person that's good with collections to call my clients because they can't have a conversation with my clients the same way that the person that shines in that area does. Same way with my graphics. I used to have a graphics person and then my virtual assistant would like schedule a post and all that, but I was paying somebody separately like $1,500 just for my graphics every month for like one of my companies, right? And so now I have a virtual assistant that can be versatile and do marketing for all of my companies, and they all look totally different because that is his zone of genius. I don't have to go outside of his zone of genius, and he could help me across the board on all of my businesses. So I just
Yeah.
that was the last thing I did. Then I got all of my virtual assistants onboarded. They also helped me in my agency where I onboard them for other people that are in the financial services industry that look for virtual assistants that are already trained in bookkeeping, taxes, client communications, lead generation, ads, all of those things. So that helped me a lot tremendously. So I'm not like spitting out a whole bunch of money, and these people are also doing things that will cost me time because graphics is not my zone of genius. I do not excel there. I can update a template here and there, right? I could run my CRM if I need to, like if it was a crunch for time or a crunch for money, ever, God forbid, right? But I know how to do things that I need to do, but if I can pay somebody to get it done and it's convenient and they love to do what they're doing, and I can just talk to my clients or just educate my audience, I'm here for that. Even with content, people feel like I'm like so great at content, but I'm just consistent. So you see me all the time. It's not about, and I'm not gonna say like I give poor quality content. I give great quality content, but I don't focus on I gotta put a camera in front of me every second of the day, or somebody gotta be following me every second. I don't do that. That's not I don't do lifestyle content, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
But I do still put out pointers. I do still put out stories, flyers, go live all the time. And I have private groups and stuff like that as well. So I solidify like my admin days or when I meet with my team. Hey, this is what we're going over. So everybody could go into their zone of genius, and all I got to do is produce or give them my headshots, give them my reels or whatever we're promoting for that week. Like Black Friday is running so smoothly for me, and this is our off week. Nobody is there answering emails, calls. Everybody is off enjoying their holiday week, which is different for most people because most people only get like maybe the day before, probably a half a day,
Hmm.
or probably that they come in late after Thanksgiving that Friday, right? But most people really desire to be with their family. Think about it. If you have kids, your kids are home for the week. You don't want to be stressed out about I still got to go to work. I still got to worry about what my kids are going to eat, or if somebody can watch my kids for 8 hours while I'm at work when I could be home. I still got to go grocery shopping or put together my Walmart delivery grocery order. I still got to do extra laundry because these kids are home all day and they're going to be in the bathroom taking selfies, changing clothes. But you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
still got
No.
to work out. It's so much still on our plate, especially as female entrepreneurs, right? So I felt like, it was for me, normally I typically take Q3 off altogether. It's my birthday, then it's the holidays, and I'm prepping for tax season. And that's like my busiest season of the year. I primarily focus on taxes, but of course I do bookkeeping and all of the other things as well. But primarily tax season is like my number one focal product. So I like to be well rested. I like to enjoy my birthday. I like to enjoy my holidays. And even now, like I I retired from baking in my restaurant a couple of years ago, but I still have pie orders to do for Thanksgiving because people are
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I know you stopped, but can you
Maybe a pie.
slide me a dozen? Can you,
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just a dozen. I already have the oven on, whatever, right? And it's like not like lacking boundaries. It's like I'm already doing it, so what's
Right.
not gonna do anything. But yeah, I think that that's very important. Like your boundaries, time management, understanding where you are and where you want to grow to, understanding who you need on your team because everybody doesn't need a virtual assistant. If you are a boutique owner, you don't need a virtual assistant because you need somebody that's going to be there in person. You need a personal assistant, right? Like somebody that's going to be able to try on clothes, be a brand ambassador, come up with the new trends, put looks together for you so you can create content. So that's somebody that's hands-on in person.
Mhm.
We can work with virtual assistant because a lot of our stuff is just systems, and we can get them to relay messages to our clients. We could get them to work on our calendars and work on our appointments, the days that we need to see clients. And similar to you, I only see my mentees on Thursdays.
Yeah.
That's it. Is if you cannot meet, you have all day Thursday. My calendar is open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Thursdays. If you can get in a 30 to 45 minute slot on a Thursday, I don't know
Right.
what the problem could be.
Yeah, and I think that for those of you who are wondering, like if you're thinking about building a team, highly recommend the book Clockwork because it
Hmm.
talks about exactly what you just said, making sure you have people in the right spots. Like I had at my initial EA, I had two EAs. The first one like very high price. You have to make sure you're monitoring how much you're spending and are you going to use all the time. So being strategic on how you pay your EAs, the structure in there, but also making sure people are doing the roles that they fit, right? I'm now working with an EA who like they specialize in all things systems operations. So the level of transition in terms of work, that lift was so much greater because I have someone who actually enjoys the role and work that they're doing. And you really get to see that difference. And now I'm like on the search for an EA that just focuses only on content, right? So I'm now like where you are in terms of making sure you're placing people in the right spots. And Clockwork is a really good book to help. For those of you who are wondering, like, what does that mean? How do I do that? Like, read that book. I highly recommend it. It kind of just changes your perspective. One
Yes.
of the things that it mentions in the book is would you rather make 50 an hour or five, right? And people are like, oh, I want to make 50 an hour. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're so bogged down reading your emails, doing all the things you don't like to do, so you're not making any money because you're not out there selling for your business, wouldn't you
Yeah.
rather pay somebody to do the other stuff and at least make $5? Like, it's more than zero, right? So I think it's really that perspective shift on taking the time to decide I'm ready to invest in my
Mm-hmm.
business, um, and taking that leap of faith to get the support to get you the ball rolling for you a lot farther and faster.
Also, not only that, like just like you said, if you want to make 50 or you want to make five, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about how much you have to budget for that. Because a lot of time people hire people and they think that they're making money, but they haven't checked their
Yes.
financials. They haven't looked at, if they're profitable. They haven't looked at if this program or strategy or coaching call is working for
Mhm.
anyone. They also aren't documenting the process, like looking at hey, I've been coaching for XYZ amount of months, but you don't have any reviews, you don't have any showing of any results, you don't have anybody talking about your coaching program, it's going to leave you stagnant as a coach. If you're a
Right.
financial professional and there's nobody saying, hey, she helped me with my finances, she helped me with my credit, she helped me with my taxes, bookkeeping, whatever the case may be, people are not going to believe it. If I could tell you all day, tell them I'm blue in the face, I'm the best woman in financial services, but if no one out there using my financial services,
Right.
am I really the best?
Right. And also collaborate too. Like I mentioned, I'm a CPA. I specialize in financial statements and reporting. So, and I know it's funny because you're mentioning how you're busy during the tax season. I'm busy pre-tax season, right? Helping members
Mm-hmm.
get all their books in order. And then what do? I subcontract other experts that specialize in tax to support my clients in that space. So as you're thinking about growing your business and how you're going to do that while you're working 9 to 5 is don't try to wear so many hats that now you're just kind of a jack of all trades and no one really knows, A, what are you doing? How can you help them?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're taking on work that you're not really being able to perform at the value or at the level that your clients are expecting. So
Mm-hmm.
now they're not having a great client experience,
Right.
right? Partner and collaborate with others in your network that can help you kind of bring that like 5-star experience to your clients.
I love it. Absolutely. Collaboration over competition. Even though we're in the same industry, we focus on different sectors, right? So we just literally had this conversation on Facebook the other day about accountants not wanting to do taxes and accountants only wanting to do bookkeeping. But there are accountants that like taxes, right? There are accountants that want to do taxes and they love the hustle and bustle of peak tax season, but still don't realize that you could do taxes all year round. Like you can
Right.
be a high profiting high volume, low volume, high profiting tax firm, right? Like you can literally only see 30 clients, but if you charge your clients $1,000 to $1,500 on the low end, you're still high profiting versus somebody that's seeing 100 people at $300.
Right. That
You know
part.
what I mean? Like that's another thing that people don't really talk about.
Yeah, and since we kind of touched a little bit on, you kind of mentioned pricing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're starting this business, you're working through this transition of working full time and transition to entrepreneurship. Understand that pricing may be a very difficult area for you, and that's okay. And the reason why is because we are so used to somebody else assigning us our value with the job that we have. That
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to you saying, "What am I going to charge for my service?" Like that could be an area where you're
Struggling with.
struggling with because all of your life maybe depending on where your story you probably had someone saying, well, this is the job, this is what you're worth, are you going to take the job, yes or no? And as I was an auditor before, for a public accounting firm, and I was in charge of billing, right? So I got to see kind of the back end numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
like they were billing out for us like 500, 600 an hour. I wasn't seeing that in my paycheck.
Right.
That's how much the so think of like as you're starting to grow your business and you're working in that space on pricing, like remember that like you have skills that you've learned in your job that you're now bringing over into your business. Maybe it's not 100% the exact same work, but there's so many transferable skills. Like you are already the
Yeah.
expert in what you're doing, and feel confident in that number, and also like play with the market to figure out, okay, what's the right price point where I'm at. Um, but don't sell yourself short, and talk to people in your community, like in your circle, to figure out like, okay, what do you think about this service? But I know I just want to put that out there because I know that for me that was one of my biggest challenges is figuring out, well, what's the price point. Um, so
Let me get my charger 1 second. Well, let me ask you this question.
yeah.
What are some steps that entrepreneurs should take to transition from a side hustle to full-time business ownership?
Okay.
What
Um,
would you say? And then I'll go answer.
Yeah. So what I would suggest if you're wanting to do that transition from that side hustle into the full time is really understand, a lot of people want to their business to be bringing them the exact same income or more of their job. And and I was there too, so I get it. But if that's you, I want you to understand what is the number that you need actually to really survive the financial runway you need to build to be able to take that chance of your full-time entrepreneurship. So this means maybe you need 6 months of savings so that you can feel comfortable, right? Taking that break, like that breaking off from your job and jumping into full time entrepreneurship. Maybe for you, that number is a year's worth of your expenses, right? So figure out what the number you need set aside to leave your job. Because if you're sitting and waiting for your business to bring you the exact same amount or more, you could be waiting for a long time. Because how many times are you saying no to opportunities because it's at 10 a.m. or it's at 1 p.m. and you're at work?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say instead of focusing on the business bringing you exactly the same as your job, focus on how much money you need to set aside to feel safe and comfortable making that transition. And also remind yourself that just how you got your job in the first place, you can always get another job if you
You
really.
could always go back. And oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. But two things. So first of all,
Yeah,
I think I was like pushed into full-time entrepreneurship.
yeah,
And a lot of people just like watch my story and they saw like me transition and just not go back to work. But not knowing like, okay, I got fired. So I was like, okay, I already got my businesses built. I was already making like I was still at 5 figures in both of my businesses. So like combined, I was making 6 figures a year, like with all of my businesses and the job, right?
yeah,
But I already was making like a good 80K at the job. So losing 80K was like, okay, I'm gonna try this housewife thing out for a little while. You know, my husband took care of everything. And then I was just able to like thrive in my side hustles. I even was able to open up a restaurant in that time. From opening a restaurant, I was able to build a 6 figure restaurant business. And I decided this is not what I want to be doing. It was exhausting. Like I love to cook, but not at that capacity.
yeah.
So I was like, this is not what I want to be doing. It's taken up every single weekend because there's always an occasion where you're booked for catering or you're booked for confections and party stuff. So we were taking like 20 to 40 orders a weekend. And it was like mom and pop style. So me, my parents, my best friend, my husband, my kids, we were all, so it was like consuming all
Mhm.
of our extra time. And it was like, do we really want to be up at 5 a.m. frying donuts, making cakes? You know, like, do we
Right.
really want to? Is this what we really want? And of course, money was great, but we had to transition to something that was more passive. So we got in, like, when we got out of that business, we were able to step into real estate, right? So that was way more passive. I mean, of course, you have your little tenant things that come up, but it's not like every single day you got to get up and manually go work for it.
Yeah.
So I was okay with shifting out of that. And also, in that same time span, I was able to grow my tax company and my tax company to 6 figures and my tax brokerage to 7 figures, like within the same year. So it was like all of this happened so fast. And of course, again, me documenting my journey or me just being myself. It was before content was even popular,
Yeah.
like to just share. And my cousins, my brother, everybody always say, you just post everything, you overshare everything. And now we live in the same era where everybody has to post everything.
Yeah.
Anybody, the person next to you can be an influencer. The person across the street from you can be, you know what I'm saying? You don't
Yeah.
know who is a real influencer, who's not an influencer, who's on their journey to, their first viral video, whatever the case may be. But now you see why it was so important, right? Because your
Yeah.
phone can't hold all this storage, but those apps can. Like you can literally make albums on those apps. You can literally
Hmm.
save a bunch of memories on those apps, and it can remind you every year after year. And we always see the memes and like, oh my God, my 20-year-old Facebook is always reminding me of
Oh,
how
yes. Like, this was what you said 14 years ago. I'm like, delete.
like please get this. unassociate me with this.
Right. Like, what was I thinking at that time? What was going on in my life?
But it's so funny because you actually can see the growth, like on the optimistic side of it. You can see the
Yeah.
growth. Like, oh my God, I was saying this, and I still was getting clients. Like, I was posting this, and I still was getting clients. So, like, now it's taboo, and I tell my employees all the time, like, y'all come from a corporate world where I understand that you couldn't be on your phone, you couldn't use social media. But on the flip side, our company, Carter Capital, is built off social media.
Yeah.
Use social media, leverage it, let people know what you're doing for your clients, how you've impacted their lives, how many returns you've done, how much, if you want to get transparent and say how much you made or how much you saved your clients, right? Like, talk about those things. This is how you intrigue other people to
Yeah.
be your client. I told them all the time, every time I go live, I'm going to come out with a client. Every time somebody listens to my podcast, I'm going to come out with a client because they're like, oh my God, that's so me. Oh my God, I suffer with that too. I'm struggling with that too. I'm challenged with that too. And so again, that's what Comma Convos is all about, like helping people
Yeah.
grow and develop personally and professionally. Grow and be your quirkiest self. Be
Right.
your weird self. Like, show up as yourself authentically. Don't try to fit into a bubble of what corporate tried to put you in. Don't feel like today I'm in a hoodie. I'm on my podcast, on my show, at my house, in a hoodie, talking to my friend,
Right.
right? And this is what I do for a living. And we're
And
talking about things that we love, and we're helping people that are listening to us, right? And it comes through. It's often coming through like that because we're showing them, we're showcasing them exactly what we're wanting to do. Like, hey, I was in the corporate world, I lost my job, I went full force. I never looked back since 2018, even though I've been an entrepreneur since 2005, maybe, right? But like full time, 2018. I'll never forget. March 2018 brought me to my path, and this is where I'm supposed to be.
yeah, and I think, like my first investment in my business actually was $2,000 for somebody to teach me about social media, content creation, and going live, right? Because I was
Hmm.
afraid of going live. Like, if you would have asked me to be on this podcast, I would have been like, no. I was like super rigid. I would have my notebooks, like, and today we're going to talk about, I was basically doing a corporate presentation on Instagram Live, right?
Hmm.
But over time, I started to get more and more comfortable, and like people started to see this is my personality. And why did that matter as someone who's coaching and even working with clients privately is because they're going to be working with you. They want to know what your vibe is like. They want to know, you know,
Exactly.
who are you really? Like, what are your struggles? Because a lot of the clients, and for those of you who are launching businesses or considering it, like a lot of the clients are going to be a version of yourself before,
It is.
and they're naturally drawn to you because of that. And I think actually just recently when I decided to show that like one of my investment accounts went over 6 figures. I never do that. I never like show numbers
Hmm.
on social, and I was like a little hesitant. Like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm proud of it. I'm gonna just people can see like, hey, this stuff is happening in the background. I maybe don't talk about it as often as others.
Hmm.
These are true numbers, and like you can get there as well. Like, you just need a strategy.
Yes.
And I think knowing your money story, getting back to the comma part of the convo, is I took a break from going live very consistently this year as I like reviewed my tech stack and kind of the back office of my business. And I
Hmm.
was able, because I understand how my money story of my business and I'm tracking, have the bookkeeping and all the things, I was able to see like my revenue is directly tied to how many times I go live.
Literally.
Literally,
Oh my God.
my
Literally.
revenue is tied to how if I'm going showing up more on socials, like with my visual face stories, whatever, my revenue is actually higher. It goes aligned with that. And
Hmm.
these are the things that allow you, like once you start setting up these systems, now I'm getting nerdy, so I'm like getting really excited. um
It's okay. I'm a nerd too. It's
yeah, I'm
okay.
like I'm getting nerdy now. But when you start setting up these systems for yourself and your business, you're gonna be able to make those better decisions,
Hmm.
right? And I also, I was actually laid off in the pandemic. At the time, I only had Airbnb, which some people know I am an Airbnb host. So I had Airbnb
Hmm.
properties in Puerto Rico and Connecticut.
Me too. Oh my God.
So then, when I got laid off in the pandemic, even though at that point, right, and I'm someone who I had a lot of debt, I had a lot of shame and embarrassment because I was an accountant working for one of the top four firms, and here I was with all this secret debt that I was afraid to talk about. But by that point, I started building my own personal money systems, navigating through that, building a financial runway. So if you're there, you're like, well, I have debt, I want to start a business, like make sure you're also setting money aside for yourself. Because if you're not, you are just going to stay in debt because you're going to
Yep.
continue to lean on the credit, lean on the debt. to get you out of a hole instead of like starting to get used to setting money aside so that you don't need to
Mm-hmm.
lean on it so much. Like, I'm not here to say credit and debt is evil. I just think we need to learn to leverage it and have a healthier relationship
Yes.
with it. Um, but when I got laid off in the pandemic, initially my money scripts from my youth, like I went into a panic, but then I took a second, took a breath. What's my reality? My reality is actually I'm good. Like, I don't need to work for quite a few
A
months.
couple months, right?
I built this plan for myself. The stress and the fear was being triggered by that moment because of things that I was still unlearning from my youth. So a lot of our money behaviors, they come from things that we saw growing up, how
Mm-hmm.
people around us growing up talked and felt about money. Those things start to get embedded in our minds and start to
Mm-hmm.
create this fear that blocks us from making moves. And so once I took that second, I was like, all right, actually, what's the reality? The reality is I'm good. I can actually enjoy this moment. I continue to study for my CPA, did all the things. I actually fired a recruiter at the time who was telling me that the money that I was seeking was not, I needed to like look for less in a job. And I was like, nah, I can't have you out here looking for a job for me if you don't believe in my
For
vision.
less, right? You don't believe in my value.
Right, exactly. But if I didn't have that money set aside, what I like to call a financial runway, I would
Mm-hmm.
have been too scared. I'd be like, okay, I'll take whatever job. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to do that. And what that made me realize is one or even two income streams is way too close to none. Here I
Mm-hmm.
had Airbnb and a job, but guess what? The pandemic impacted Airbnb too. People weren't traveling at that time,
Right.
right? The job thing happened. It made me realize that no matter how many times and how many hours you work, you are just a number and you are replaceable because a company will always protect the company, right?
100%.
And so that's actually how what really pushed me launching the business was I started doing free resume reviews for other people that were also laid off. And people started sending me people older than me, younger than me, like all these people that were laid off, and I was just helping them with the resumes for free. But it ended up being a lot of mindset work, helping them kind of transition how they were thinking about like their life, their situation. And what
Mm-hmm.
I realized was there were some people I was helping who worked for a factory or a company in Middle America for 30 years, and instead of thinking like I'm ready to retire, I could chill, they were like, no, I need a job because then I can't pay the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh wow, like financial literacy is still a really big need,
So
no
big.
matter what ethnicity you are, no matter where you are in this country. Like, it was a big problem, and that's kind of what pushed me to launch this business. And so since then, I've been like, that's what gives me my vision as to why to keep going, like pushing hard, what works, adding in the bookkeeping and that consulting side of the business as well. So as actually 90% of my coaching clients, even though that wasn't part of my program initially, launched businesses while working. And when I've asked them all like
That's dope.
why, they're like, well, because within the like my program's 90 days, so like within the 90 days, like just hearing like your story or that you had a meeting at work and that you got this other call and how you were able to figure it out, like it made us realize we can also figure it out.
Yes.
Right. And so it gave them that vision. And now I'm like, all right, well, how can I keep helping them? Because now they're in that transition period and they're like, well, what do I do next? I'm like, well, let's register a business, let's get the idea. Right. So I think once you start to realize that money is a tool that's meant to be used, and other cultures have mastered that. They've understood that God put money on this earth
Exactly.
to be used. And all of us are called to serve a certain group of people. All of us are called to do a certain thing. And so if I, for example, when I made that investment in that social media coach, is because she has been called to do that work. She has been called and finds so much joy in teaching people how to not to be afraid of content and
Mm-hmm.
social media and showing up, right? And so I'm paying her to teach me, but I'm also allowing her to be in her zone of excellence. And now that I've been able to master the skills, which she taught about content batching, right? Like get 3 different outfits and record 5 different reels on the same day in 1 hour. Like all these skills that I have now learned, it's going to allow me to focus on my zone of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think we're so attached to the money that we have in our hand that we don't realize like if we don't move the money around, like we're gonna just be stuck. And we're gonna
Yep.
be tied to this. We're gonna be handcuffed to something that's really gonna strip us away from what true joy is.
Our real purpose. Yes. Yes.
I got real nerdy.
Like,
I'm like, ooh.
no, literally, that was a whole word. Like, it really brings me directly into my next question. Like, what would
Yeah.
you say are some mindset shifts that are necessary to confidently grow and like grow a business alongside a personal and professional responsibility that you may have to a job or something?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. I think the first mindset shift that needs to happen is to understand like you are worthy. Like you are worthy and you are valuable already, and like you already have all the skills within you. I think we could be our hardest critics, right? And then that allows us to start blocking us from different
All
opportunities.
the time. Hmm.
I just did a live stream yesterday, and I talked about this because even me now, like I just got awarded one of the AFCPE scholarships to be an accredited financial counselor, and
Congratulations.
I know, thanks, I'm so excited. But even with that, I knew the deadline for the scholarship was coming up, and I kind of was like, oh, I don't know, like what if I don't get it? Even me, like, so it's something that you have
Hmm.
to constantly work on, right? So I want you, like, another mindset shift is don't think that just because you made the decision now, like, okay, your mind is suddenly, you're a whole new person. Like, you have to constantly work on and remind
Correct.
yourself, like, what's the reality versus what's not. And so for that scholarship, I applied on the very last day. I was like, oh, you know what? Like, very last day. Like, I think I hit send like 2 minutes before the.
You know better.
Okay, I know better, right? I know better. But I was allowing this limiting belief that somehow
Hmm.
creeps back
To
up
hold you back. Yep.
to hold me back a little bit, right? And then I ended up getting this opportunity. And so, if for those of you watching, think about all the opportunities and doors that have opened that you walked through, and like how many times that door probably opened in a different way and you didn't walk through it. And what was holding you back so that you can start to recognize that feeling the next time it happens and make decisions moving faster. As it relates to growing your business with money, understand that if you don't have a good, healthy personal relationship with money, that behavior is going to bleed into how you manage your business, right? Personal example is I mentioned a little earlier that I struggled with a lot of debt. So when I broke free from that on the personal side, and then now becoming a business owner where I was ready to leverage a little bit of debt to scale, right? That's actually how I hired my first EA.
Hmm.
I felt fear quickly because I was like, oh, I don't want to. I just want to do it cash. Like I don't want to do that. But I
Hmm.
realized that this debt in my business is different than the personal side,
Right.
and I have already developed the systems so that it doesn't become a problem later,
Hmm.
right? And so I think understanding that. So if you think the mindset, understand you're already worthy, you already have those skills. Make sure that if you're building a business, you're building the right systems in place on your personal side so that it doesn't bleed over into how you manage your business, and understand that as a business owner you have to shoot your shot all the time, so
All
start
the
to
time.
learn the triggers and the signs of when you feel that hesitation, that resistance, so that you can better like address them as they come along, especially when you start launching and tiptoeing into business. Also, as when you're working, the mindset of like, screw this job, whatever, like don't have that mindset.
Right.
Leverage your job, like look at your job as a tool, a stepping stone for your business, because guess what, you got paid time off. Well, most people do.
Hmm.
You got paid time, leverage your time off, right? You utilize your PTO wisely, right? Like use that sustainable income from your job to say, all right, every paycheck I'm going to allocate 10-15% towards my business, right? So leverage it as a stepping stone and make sure that you're still showing up in excellence there while
Hmm.
you're doing that.
That's really good. Two things, because one,
Yeah.
whatever you do personally is going to show up professionally when
Yeah.
it comes to finances. 100% agree there. Second thing I want to mention, that you mentioned earlier, is think about this. We want to leave our jobs because we don't want to work for anyone. But when you become a business owner, you work for all of your clients. Like you literally work for all of your clients. Like you literally work to get them, you work to retain them, you work to keep them, you work to continue to keep them year after year. You don't want one-time customers because a bunch of one-time customers going to put you out of business. You want client retention, you want business longevity. You don't want your business to be stagnant just to say I have 10 coaching clients. Okay, once you've coached them, what's their next step? They're not going to stay with you forever. So, like,
Right.
you have a 90-day program, I have an annual program, I have a one-on-one program. So, it's different programs and it's different levels that
Yeah.
people have to get to be in those stages in those programs as well. But
Right.
as a coach, what would you say are the common mistakes that you see people make when they're trying to start or scale their business, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, as a coach, I think that mistakes I've seen is people trying to do like too much at once, right? You're trying to grab everybody
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying like, let me focus on my zone of excellence here. So, and that's something, that I had to learn along the way is when I started private one-on-one, right? I was specifically
You
targeting.
started with one-on-one? Oh
I
my
started,
God.
yes, I did. I know. But I did it for a reason because I actually leveraged everything I learned from those 3 or 4 clients. I only did probably one-on-one like very limited until I started
Mm-hmm.
a group. But I use all of that to kind of tweak and enhance my program. I think a lot of coaches, they start building out curriculum and videos and all these things and like, okay, I'm going to do all this and then I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go and try to sell my service. But you just spent all these hours creating video and curriculum and all these things, you don't even know if the market wants it. You don't even know if it's answering the question that the people that you're talking to have. So I
Right.
leverage the private one-on-one to get feedback on my curriculum, tweak it, adjust it, and pivot it to what it is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've noticed is, okay, a lot of the people come to me because they have high debt, because they want to understand how to manage that money. They want to launch a business, but they haven't mastered the personal finance side. So I help them build these systems and undo some of the limiting money beliefs and money scripts that they've grown with and have picked up from people in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Unlearn that, and then now, right? And then you leverage that. So now that I noticed that 90% of my clients have launched businesses, and I know this now because my clients have reached back out to me. They tell me, actually, one client a year later was like, "Hey, I finally launched my business." Right? And so I started having, like you mentioned, having a retention. I started having conversations with those clients. Well, what was
Yep.
it? Because that's not a part of my program, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it that got you? And so as I started to get that feedback, now what do I have? Now I have another program that's like, all right, phase one is from paycheck to purpose, right? And now phase two is from purpose to profit. So you've
Yes,
identified your
break it down. I love it.
yeah, so you've identified your purpose. Now how can we get you to profit? Let's make sure that you understand what are you even selling? What do you want to do? Who's your audience? Let's register your business. Let's get your bank accounts right. Let's make sure you have the systems ready to collect payment. Let's
Mm-hmm.
have your bookkeeping right. I'm getting them to that space. And then now what do I have? Well, now I also have bookkeeping and consulting. So now that they've gotten there, I can help them as they continue to grow their business. I can help people prepare for access to capital, which means, getting loans and secure, helping them in those application processes. So if I would have tried to do all of these things at the beginning,
You will reach no one.
I would reach no one. People wouldn't know where to find me. I had to start like where my strong suit was. So me, I was like, well, I want to start here because that was my story. I had a lot of debt. I had to figure out a plan. I had to unlearn beliefs that were setting me back, not only with money, but even passing the CPA. Like I had to practice skills on like
Oh my
telling myself
God.
like you're
Talk
not
about
dumb, you're
it.
smart enough, you can pass it, right? Like and all of those practices I applied to all the other areas of my life, started seeing success. So I started there, but now I have a way to not only continue to support my clients through every stage that they're in, but also I can accept clients in different places. I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes get business owners who they come to me for bookkeeping, but then they realize like they never set up the foundations of their business. They're still making
Mm-hmm.
their money. They don't even have business like bank accounts, right? They don't have booking. So I'm like, all right, well, I also offer coaching. Let's put you into the purpose to profit, right? Because you know your purpose. You're a full time
Yep.
entrepreneur, but we need to go back to the foundation. I'm all big on foundation and sustainability. Or I get people that come to me because they want to launch a business, but they're not ready with their own personal money. Like they need to understand what behaviors are holding them back here because more money really is more problems if you can't manage it. Right?
Exactly.
So, and I think that's like the biggest thing I see from coaches that I've found. Like they want to do everything at once. They want to serve everyone at once instead
Mm-hmm.
of saying, and they want to build everything at once. If you're not selling, you don't have a business. So, period. Like if you're not selling, you don't have a business. So, maybe draw the outline. Of course, I'm not saying don't have anything together. Put the outline together. Have some concept of what you want to do, templates, whatever that looks like for your business. But then work with a few clients and see if it's working, making sense. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. I'm very big on asking my clients for feedback to the point that I had a client, private one-on-one client, re-enter my program as a group just to kind of see and told me, I see myself in your program because she saw a lot of the feedback that she gave.
Mm-hmm.
I used it and I enhanced it in the group format. And she ended up loving the group and thinking it was great to collaborate with other people, especially when it comes to money. Some of us don't have the safe community, or especially in Black and Brown communities, at least how I grew up, is like you don't talk about money with other people. That stays with
Mm-hmm.
your family,
That's in your
your
household
household only. But guess what? Wealthy people, they talk about money all the time. They're
all
like,
the
all right, what are
time.
you doing? Well, this is what I'm doing, right? They're growing together. And
Mm-hmm.
so they start to see like this group program actually allows them to grow together in those safe
Yep.
spaces where they couldn't talk to their spouse before they went through that program. And now they're calling me like, oh my God, I had a meeting with my husband and we have a plan. And they feel so confident and comfortable
Mm-hmm.
because they were able to build that safety and security. And now they're able to kind of extend that out into their own like micro communities.
The important part of it is taking action because a lot of time people
Yeah.
get into these programs and even with me, like I have a lot of ladies and gentlemen that are in my program. And again, like we said, our calls are on a certain day. My calls are on Thursdays.
Yeah.
You have all day Thursday, any Thursday of the month. No Thursdays are restricted. Of course, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so no, I'm not having calls on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But you know, like you have all of this time and all of this access to somebody who has done it for 5 figures, 6 figures, seven. I'm trying to get to eight, right? Like I'm trying to get to eight in all of my businesses. I'm trying to get to nine, you know, and beyond. But I tell them you have to get to four first. You have to master four. You have to master three. Same when it comes down to credit, right? If you're trying to build your credit and you know I'm bad with credit, my credit cards are all maxed out, but you come into extra money and you spend the money versus paying down your debt, you're irresponsible with money. It's not a credit problem. It's not a money issue. It's not
Yeah.
that you can't make money. You can make money, but you blow it so fast. You don't take time to invest. You don't take time to pay down debt. You don't take time to invest into programs that can help you, right? Build out your wealth or pay down and or save up your savings, right? Or figure out how to invest or what to invest in. What should I be doing? You should be showing up to class. You should be showing up to these calls. You should be making these calls and
Right.
taking advantage of these calls, asking the right questions. If you don't know the right questions to ask, it's so many other platforms that you can come up to, like ChatGPT. Leverage ChatGPT. What question should I ask my mentor based on
Yeah.
my business financial relationship? I don't have business bank accounts at this point. I don't have high cash flow at this point.
Hmm.
What systems could I use? What questions should I be asking my mentor about this? And then take action.
Yeah.
I have people that come to the calls one time, like you get two per month, right? For
Yeah.
example, you get two, they'll come to one call, get homework, don't do the homework, don't book the next call. So now we're on to the next month and the next thing. Similar to what you said earlier, I instead of creating a curriculum about things that I think that they need, I give a poll. What do you guys want to learn about
Right.
this month, right? And I ask them. And if I'm not the expert in the thing that they want to learn about, I go and get the expert and I bring them to them.
Yeah.
Same for books. If we're reading a black-owned book or author, I'll try to get the author to come in and talk on book club. So it's a whole bunch of different benefits that's not shown in just a general graphic that I say, oh, you paying 149 a month, right? That's less than $5 a day. Initially, somebody who's not good with money management is gonna say 149 a month.
Hmm.
Hmm, can I afford to pay 149 a month? But is my 149 a month necessity, right? We got to think about that part too. Because
Yeah.
it is necessity if my 149 a month could help make you 10,000 a month. It is
Right.
necessity for my 149 a month can make you at least 5,000 a month, and you weren't able to cross over that $1,000 a month threshold, right? Are you selling a bunch of, or you have a bunch of products on your website that aren't selling? That could be a bundle,
Right.
something that could be a lead magnet, something that is an idea that's just going dormant in your journal, or something, things of that nature. Like those are the things that people don't realize that really help them grow in mentorship. They don't realize those non-tangible things. They're looking at the price, which is only 3 figures, not knowing I have a 5 figure program that I don't advertise. You literally have to be invited or you can apply. And if
Right.
you apply to one-on-one and you're not qualified at the time, you get downsold to the group program, right? Because we got to build up your financial side so that you don't get into this one-on-one program and 3 months down the line, you can't afford it.
Yeah. And I think that's so powerful you're saying because sometimes you don't. Sorry, my cat is here. I don't know if you hear the meowing. But you people get so stuck on the price they don't see what's on the other side, right?
Hmm.
When I talk about clients, it's like, all right, well, you've been dealing with this and developing this debt and paying all this interest for 5 years, right? Or and on I do like all the math for them, and I'm like, if you don't resolve this in another 3 years, it's gonna be 30. I've had a client that had this conversation, like it'll be another $38,000 in debt. Like, how
Yep.
does that make you feel, right? And sometimes I think we're so close to it. And those of you watching, like, you might be so close to the problem that you don't take a step back and say, well, this problem that's been continuing for a year, 2 years, 3 years, how much money have I gone into
Thrown in the trash.
thrown in the trash? And so
Hmm.
one of my clients, when they thought they were saving money, for example, I did an audit on their finances, realized that they weren't because they were actually taking money out while they were putting money in. So like net, they were like negative $24.
Hmm.
Mind you, they thought they were saving 700 a month,
Right.
right? And so we stopped working in May together. The program ended in January. I got a message from them saying that they were able to save $12,000 from May to January,
Hmm.
leveraging the skills that they learned, using what I taught them to negotiate a raise and promotion at their job. Right? They also, on top of that savings, also paid down a significant amount in their debt. Right? So from the investment that she made, which was a four-figure investment, she got made four times her investment just in her savings alone. Not even counting how much she paid off her debt, but just in the savings, four times the investment she was able
Hmm.
to secure without sacrificing joy and the things that brought her happy in life, but actually feeling more empowered, more confident, more able to talk to
Yes,
people
and
about money.
actually having that conversation and having that conversation with yourself about
Exactly.
money.
Exactly. And so we all have to make investments, and we're all making investments in something. So for those
Hmm.
of you who are watching, it's like, oh, I don't want to pay into the program. Or I even, actually, I had a real estate investor give me money for a full scholarship to a student in my program, a BIPOC student. I only got five people to apply. Five. And all they had to do was fill out the application, be a person of color, and do a 30-second video as to why they want the scholarship.
That video is gonna get weed the people out every single time. And guess what? That's the same thing what I tell people about grants. Like a lot of times, and we gonna go into the game and we gonna finish up. But
Yeah.
I tell us people the same thing about grants. Everybody's like, "Oh, I always get denied for grants." Did you upload that video? No, because you're not comfortable on camera. Same thing with your business. You're uncomfortable on camera to talk about your business. I'll get on this camera and talk about any one of my businesses on any given day. I don't need makeup. I don't need a list of things that I want to talk about because I know my business in and out, right?
Yeah.
I know how I help people. I know the impact. And so when I look at those things, or I look at, you might be strong in this area, but you might be weak in this area. Work on that. Take videos behind the scenes, right? Make those videos, post it, see
Yeah.
how it does. Track the analytics, track the KPIs. Did it bring you extra traction? One of the things we're doing in my group mentorship program right now is a 30-day challenge. I think we're on like day 27.
Yeah.
And I've given them a prompt every day. You literally have a prompt on what to do, what to talk about, what to say, right? If you're not doing it, it's a you problem. It's not a me problem. You have to think about this. This is why I focus on personal and professional development, because you can have all the skills on your resume that you want. But if
Right.
you don't know how to explain the value of your skills, if you're not a good interview person, if you're not a good test taker, you're still going to lose or be underpaid every single time.
Yeah.
So that was good that you said you help them gain an extra strategy in their business on, getting a raise, right? Or even saving. That strategies and T right there. Y'all make sure y'all go
Yeah.
follow strategies and T, because her programs are designed for you guys. It's designed for y'all.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play a quick game. Go ahead.
I'm trying to change the narrative on spill the tea, right? Usually it's gossip,
Hmm.
all these things that don't really help our communities at all. Like I'm trying to spill
Right.
things that can make us grow together, like build wealth, like leverage and advance our communities. So yes, follow me on strategies and tea.
I love it. Do you have an offer that you want to give to anybody, like a code, or you want to tell them what you have coming up?
Yeah, so right now I do have coming up my coaching program. We're going to kickstart mid January. And so I am giving, well, actually, for anyone who watches this, you could send me a note with Dricka's name or Comma Convos, and I will give you 10% off the coaching program. It is an application based program, so you will have to apply, but I'll do 10% for anyone who sends me a DM using the podcast name. It's my coaching program. And if you need bookkeeping support, I could also apply that there as well.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so we always play a quick game. The game is called This or That. Our listeners typically tend to jump in and drop their answers in the comments as well, but you have to answer. You cannot choose both. All right,
Okay.
it's literally quick on your feet. So
Okay.
my first question is: save or invest?
Invest.
Work late or wake up early? I know you're early bird.
Early.
Passive income or active hustle?
Passive income.
Hire a coach or DIY learning?
Hire a coach.
That was good. Like that's all the things we literally talked about in this episode.
Listen, yeah. Honestly, the DIY is great. Like some people work with that way, but your coaches, they all went through it. Like they've gone
Mhm.
through it, and they're now trying to teach you the shortcuts.
A
So,
coach is there to give you the blueprint. Like I always tell, and I always relate it to like sports. I'm a basketball girl, but my husband likes football, so I'm kind of like just getting into football and just learning football. So I'm
yeah,
like, yo, listen, you have to look at the coaching program or the mentorship program. Like I'm the coach, I'm giving you the play, but you got to run the ball.
right. Exactly.
every single time. And when they do run the ball, like I had a girl, she just got in my program maybe a month. I think this is her second month. She's
Yeah.
already launched. She's already have her systems in place. She's sending out emails. She's gaining traction on social media. She have her social media pages, and it did not cost her more than 250. Now she's in the process of like the LLC, the bank account. It's like steps to it, but we had to plan it out first. We had to plan it out and like come up with different campaigns. She's about to drop something for December. It's a fitness brand. I don't do fitness,
Yeah.
but I helped her brand her fitness business. Right. So you have to think about it like that. Like, man, my husband is a fitness trainer. Of course, I know fitness trainer strategies. Of course, I know how to launch merch. Of course, I know how to gain traction and come up with products to supplement your fitness brand. Duh, come to me. Right. I can help you build that out. But if that's what you want to learn, but if your business is something else, if you're a service based business and you know I'm struggling with getting clients, I'm struggling with getting in front of the camera, you need to be in one of our programs. You need to come in and say, okay, I need a coach. It's time for me to get a coach. It's time for me to get on board. And I got a bunch of text messages from this week, of course, because I'm not answering calls, but
Yeah.
they're still saying, listen, I've been having my boutique XYZ amount of time. I've been having this e-commerce brand all this time and I'm only hitting 2,000 a month. Or I'm trying to figure out how to just show back up on social media. Show up on social media.
Right.
It's Black Friday, the biggest sale of the year. The next sale that's coming up is going to be Christmas and then Super Bowl. Plan accordingly.
Yeah.
You could already be into 2025. Stop worrying about where you at right now and get a coach that's going to help push you forward and catapult your business.
Amen.
Very simple. But this conversation was very good, very valuable. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Do you want to tell everybody how to follow you and connect with you and what's your website?
Yes. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to be on this space with your
Thank you.
audience. For those of you who want to follow me, I'm on all platforms at Strategies and TEA for Strategies and T. You can also go to strategiesandT.com, and there you'll see all my services from the personal coaching side to the business consulting and the coaching side there. So, and don't forget, if you send me a message with Comma Convos in the DM, I'll give you 10% off any of my services.
Okay, yo. So thank y'all so much for watching. Happy Wednesday. As always, we want to see you winning and wealthy. I am your host, Dricka M. Carter. Today's guest co-host is Aitza Negron, and she is from Strategies and Tea. Make sure y'all follow Strategies and Tea. Follow our show, Comma Convos podcast, and of course, follow me on all platforms, Dricka M. Carter. Y'all have a good day.
Okay.
All right. So what's gonna happen is gonna upload, and then I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
And then I'll send you all of the links for the audio, and then the video will be on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you.